Welcome back to the deep dive. This is the place where we don't just, skim the surface of sources. We really crack them open. We pull out the most valuable knowledge, and we basically hand you the blueprint. We're here to give you that massive shortcut to being well-informed, to make sure that the next thing you decide to consume, it's not just interesting, but genuinely transformative. And
Right.
today, we are undertaking a deep dive into a source that, to be honest, promises nothing less than a revolutionary operating system upgrade for your entire life.
That's a great way to put it, an operating system upgrade.
Yeah, we're moving past the idea of just marginal improvements, 1% better here and there. We're diving headfirst into the actual mechanics of a monumental personal transformation. We're looking at the foundational architecture of what the source calls the everyday hero. Our source material today is based on the comprehensive detailing and excerpts from Robin Sharma's big work, The Everyday Hero Manifesto. Activate your positivity, maximize your productivity, serve the world. And look, if we take the claims here at face value, this isn't just some motivational reading.
Not at all.
It's a system designed for a very specific kind of radical success.
Indeed. And our mission today for you listening is going to be really focused and I think deeply practical. We're here to rapidly extract the specific systematic methodology, the core promises that are embedded right inside this structure.
Okay.
We need to identify the exact levers that, according to Sharma, deliver on 4 massive commitments. And these are, well, they're huge. We're talking about achieving undefeatable positivity.
Oh, undefeated. I mean, that word alone.
Right. Then, reaching monumental productivity, realizing deep spiritual freedom, and sort of the capstone of it all, ensuring your success is leveraged into a life that's dedicated to helping other people.
Okay, let's unpack this right away because those claims, they set a staggeringly high bar. I mean, the source material highlights that Robin Sharma, who is a path-blazing leader in this personal mastery space, he's been using this exact revolutionary methodology for over 25 years.
A long time. It's been battle-tested.
And his clients, this isn't just, advice for some ambitious mid-level managers. We're talking billionaires, business titans, professional sports superstars. Entertainment royalty.
Yeah.
So this system has been forged in the most demanding crucibles of performance you could possibly imagine.
And that track record, I think, is the most compelling piece of evidence we have right from the start. When you see a methodology that has been so successfully stress-tested, implemented by people who already operate at the absolute peak of global achievement.
Right.
The ones who have achieved what the source calls rare results.
Yeah.
You just know you're dealing with something highly systematized. It's been rigorously tested, and it's inherently scalable.
That's a key point.
The distinction here is vital, I think. These are not just, abstract theories from a professor somewhere. They're refined processes that have been optimized for extreme output.
I think the biggest insight, right at the start here, is the implication that the difference between, say, an average high performer and a world-dominating titan isn't necessarily talent. It's access to, and more importantly, the rigorous implementation of this specific system. And the critical shift you mentioned is that this methodology, which was once, exclusive to this tiny elite, is now being made available to anyone ready to commit to achieving those same rare results.
That is the entire premise of the everyday hero concept. The tools of mastery are no longer restricted by access or cost. They're restricted only by your commitment. So by the end of this deep dive, you, the listener, will have a clear, concise, and really thorough understanding of the 5 core discoveries the book promises to deliver.
So this is the blueprint.
This is the structural blueprint. You'll be able to gauge whether this is the precise framework you need to achieve not just success, but what the source promises. A state of peak operational mastery, or, I love this phrase, virtuoso-grade performance, coupled with true spiritual freedom.
Excellent. Okay, let's not waste a second. Let's jump straight into the architecture of this promised heroic life and see how these massive promises are actually organized. So the overarching goal of this manifesto, it's distilled right there in the subtitle. It defines the 3 core actions that make up an everyday hero, and it establishes the initial roadmap for you. Those 3 actions are activate your positivity, maximize your productivity, serve the world. And it sounds, a bit like standard self-help phrasing on the surface, but the language feels intentionally amplified. Activate, maximize, these are strong words.
They are. And what's fascinating here is the almost mathematical precision with which those three pillars map directly onto the four foundational promises we just talked about. This isn't just some random encouragement. It's a direct sequential methodology.
Okay, so break that down. Let's start with the first one.
Okay, so take that first pillar, activating positivity. This is presented as the foundational mechanism for achieving that promised state of undefeatable positivity.
Right.
It implies that positivity isn't, a default setting. And it's not just simple optimism either. It's something that has to be actively cultivated, maintained, strengthened like a muscle.
So you have to work at it.
Constantly.
Yeah.
To the point where setbacks and external chaos literally cannot penetrate it. It becomes unassailable. And that becomes the absolute prerequisite for any kind of sustained high performance.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, a titan operating under that kind of intense scrutiny, immense financial pressure, they can't afford to be paralyzed by negative thoughts or a moment of doubt.
No way.
They need a positivity that's so robust, it's basically a psychological shield.
Precisely. And that positive psychological foundation, that shield, then enables the second action, maximizing productivity, which leads directly to the outcome of monumental productivity.
And monumental, like you pointed out, it's got to mean more than just being efficient, right? More than just getting through your to-do list.
Oh, way more. It suggests scaling your output to an entirely new order of magnitude. Often this is done by focusing on the 1% of activities that generate 99% of the results.
The Pareto principle on steroids?
Exactly. For the clients, Sharma mentors, monumental means world-changing output, and that demands absolute, unwavering focus and leverage.
So it's the difference between, say, doing your tasks faster and doing the tasks that fundamentally redefine your entire field.
You got it. And this intense, almost optimized focus on the self, which sounds a little selfish, funnily enough, leads directly into the third pillar.
Serve the world.
It creates a virtuous cycle. The source explicitly links a life of helping others directly to that goal of achieving deep spiritual freedom.
Now, that connection is maybe the most insightful part of the whole system for me.
It's profound. It posits that the highest form of self-mastery is actually achieved through an outward focus, through contribution.
Yeah.
That contribution provides the necessary context and purpose. It's the spiritual anchor in what could otherwise be a really hollow, even if successful, high-achieving life.
So the goal isn't just personal success for its own sake. It's about using that monumental productivity and that undefeatable positivity as tools to create massive value for other people.
Yeah.
And that outward focus is what paradoxically unlocks the deepest possible sense of contentment, of meaning and purpose, that spiritual freedom that completes the loop.
That is the core claim. And it's powerful because it integrates the internal drive, the positivity with the external output productivity and the sort of existential purpose, which is service. And the emphasis, as we noted, is that this entire systematic path to rare results is now democratized. It's available to anyone ready to put in the work.
Right. It's out of the boardroom and into your life.
It moves it out of that exclusive realm of the elite.
And that accessibility is so vital for our listener, right? For someone who wants a clear, repeatable, and thorough system. The fact that this is all presented as a concrete methodology rather than just some abstract philosophy, that's key.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the very structure of the book itself reinforces this desire for both the aspirational vision and the actionable steps. The source describes the Everyday Hero Manifesto as having this crucial hybrid structure.
It's part memoir, part instruction manual, and part handbook.
Exactly.
I really appreciate that blend because a transformation this profound, it needs more than just a list of bullet points. So why is the memoir aspect, this idea of a life richly lived, why is that so structurally important, especially when you're dealing with such ambitious, high-stakes material?
Well, the memoir structure, which, is strengthened by reviews that mention the inclusion of specific live examples, it serves a really important psychological function. It makes the advice relatable. It makes it feel attainable. When you're promising things like monumental productivity and undefeatable positivity.
Yeah, that can feel distant, almost mythological to the average person.
Totally. So by including a personal narrative, it grounds this revolutionary methodology in actual human experience. It shows that the Pathblazer himself has lived the system, he's faced the struggles, he's achieved the triumph. It provides validation, and it provides context for the eventually difficult steps that you're going to have to take.
So it proves it's not just theory. Okay. And then we pivot immediately from that story into the instruction manual. And this part is dedicated to delivering virtuoso-grade performance.
Hmm.
What exactly does virtuoso imply when we're talking about business or a career? It's a word you hear for like a violinist.
Right, a musician. And it's a perfect analogy. Virtuoso implies a mastery that not only surpasses competence, but reaches a level of flawless, habitual, and innovative execution. So it's the difference between a great musician who hits all the right notes and a virtuoso who interprets the piece with this profound and unique brilliance every single time they play it.
I see.
For a business titan, this means strategy execution that's flawless, it's automated, it's even predictive. For our listener, the everyday hero, it means operating at the absolute ceiling of your current role, becoming the person everyone else in your industry looks to as the benchmark. It promises the specific routines and steps to achieve that psychological and technical brilliance consistently.
That distinction, that idea of refinement and flawless execution, it really elevates the goal beyond simple time management or, setting goals. It implies a total commitment to your craft.
And finally, that leads us to the third part, the handbook component, which focuses on delivering spiritual freedom in an age of high-velocity change. This section has to address the critical sustainability question.
Which is, how do you maintain that peak performance without completely burning out?
Ex-
And why the specific emphasis on high velocity change? Why is that the defining context for this pursuit of spiritual freedom?
because we live in an era that is defined by a relentless flow of information, right? Instantaneous global connectivity, rapid technological disruption, constant market volatility.
Sheer chaos.
It's total chaos. And for someone who is aiming for those rarer results, this chaos is magnified tenfold. The pressure is immense. And without a deep internal anchor, extreme success, it often leads to deep instability, to burnout, or even moral compromise.
We see that all the time.
All the time. So spiritual freedom, in this context, acts as that essential anchor. It ensures that the high-performance machine doesn't consume the operator. It's all about maintaining that inner equilibrium, the promised simplicity, beauty, and peace, which is necessary to withstand and navigate the chaos inherent in dominating your domain.
So it's the required resilience against the inevitable stress that comes with success. The book doesn't just promise the results, it promises the capacity to actually handle those results. And the reviews, they certainly seem to validate this impact. They call the book a masterpiece, a guide to gigantic positive turnarounds when it's rigorously implemented. And that self-implementation part is the key, isn't it? That's our next focal point as it transitions us into the practical discoveries. Okay, let's move into the real core of the methodology. These 5 specific transformational discoveries that act as the pillars of this whole revolutionary system. This is where we need to move beyond just defining things and into the mechanism of how these shifts actually happen.
Right.
The first major discovery focuses on the how of developing what it calls visionary ambition.
Key discovery A. It centers on the hidden habits used by many of the world's most creative and successful people to realize their visionary ambitions. And you're right, this isn't just about, waking up early. This is about the microscopic actions that compound over time.
I want to focus intensely on that phrase, hidden habits. What, practically speaking, makes a habit hidden? Are these like some esoteric, complex rituals only accessible to billionaires, or are they simple routines that are just psychologically really difficult to maintain?
That's the million-dollar question. And if we look at what distinguishes the elite in any field, the habits are almost certainly hidden not because they are secret, but because they are so counterintuitive in their simplicity and their consistency.
So they're overlooked.
They're universally overlooked by people who are seeking complexity.
Yeah.
They're literally hidden in plain sight. Most people are out there looking for a silver bullet, some complex hack. The elite, they focus on the daily microscopic discipline that is utterly unglamorous.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Think about what separates a great executive from a titan. The titan has probably developed something like a 60-second transition ritual between a high-stakes meeting and a critical planning session. They don't just walk to the next room. They have a micro-routine. Maybe it's a specific breathing technique, a mental reset phrase, a moment of just radical stillness. And what it does is it instantly purges the emotional residue of the last event. That micro-routine is hidden because it's internal. It seems insignificant. But over a quarter century, that tiny habit guarantees they enter every new challenge with a clean slate, which maximizes their decision quality.
So it's the relentless consistency in the moments that everybody else just ignores. For the everyday hero, the equivalent might be, what, the 5 minutes before you leave the office? where you clarify the single most important task for the next morning. So
Exactly.
you wake up with immediate leveraged focus instead of that morning inertia we all feel.
Precisely. The whole purpose of these habits is to realize these visionary ambitions, which are always long-term. They often seem impossible at the start. So therefore, these hidden habits must prioritize long-term thinking over that immediate gratification that our brains crave. They're designed to cultivate creativity and ensure constant cultivation of that optimistic, future-focused mindset.
Which loops right back to the idea of achieving undefeatable positivity.
It all connects.
So that requires mechanisms for deep work and creative incubation. For a Titan, maybe this is a mandatory daily thinking hour. No phone, no laptop, no technology allowed, regardless of the urgent demands of their global business.
Yes, a sacred block of time.
And for you, the listener, this might be a 30-minute block dedicated solely to learning or skill refinement, completely shielded from emails and meetings, non-negotiable.
The essential takeaway for you is that these habits are hidden because they defy the modern culture of constant reaction and, visible busyness. It's about deliberate deceleration at the micro level to enable massive velocity at the macro level. So the question becomes, what small, non-glamorous action are you currently neglecting that if you compounded it daily would eventually realize your most visionary ambition?
That sets a powerful foundation. Okay, now transitioning from these hidden routines to emotional processing. Key discovery B is maybe the most psychologically demanding element of the manifesto. It's the use of original techniques to convert adversity into advantage.
This segment is absolutely critical for achieving self-realization and overcoming past hurdles. It demands moving beyond simply coping with your setbacks to actively leveraging them.
So it's not just getting through it, it's getting stronger because of it.
Exactly. The methodology promises 3 crucial transformations where negative energy or a negative experience is instantly repurposed into a positive asset.
All right, let's start with the first one. Transforming fear into fuel. Fear it's our most primal stop sign. How does the system provide a technique to instantly interrupt that avoidance response and transmute anxiety, which, as an energy, is highly charged into immediate momentum for action?
The mechanism is likely rooted in reframing the actual physical sensation of fear. Think about it. Fear and excitement share nearly identical physiological profiles.
Elevated heart rate, adrenaline rush.
Heightened awareness.
Yeah.
The original technique must teach the mental skill of labeling that intense physical state, not as a signal of danger that requires avoidance, but as a signal of importance that requires your immediate focused energy investment. The mind is taught to run toward the feeling, not away from it.
Okay, so if I feel immense anxiety before a major presentation, I don't try to calm down.
Well,
I mentally relabel that adrenaline as peak performance preparation, and I channel it into projecting confidence. That's a radical cognitive intervention.
it's an interrupt. That's the perfect word for it. Instead of freezing, you fire up. This process ensures that every high-stakes situation, which naturally generates fear, simultaneously generates the energy required for that virtuoso-grade performance you need to succeed. Fear becomes the engine, not the brake.
Wow. Okay. Then we move to transforming problems into power. A problem is typically viewed as a liability, right? A drain on resources or a failure of foresight. How does this philosophy shift that to an asset-based view of challenges?
Well, problems force innovation, we know that. But more strategically, problems create proprietary intellectual property.
What do you mean by that?
For the Titans, solving a massive logistical or operational problem, it doesn't just get the business back on track. It creates a new, proprietary internal system that their competitors lack. The greater the complexity and the cost of the problem, the more profound the resulting power generated is in terms of resilient systems, refined processes, and enhanced competitive knowledge.
I've never thought of it that way.
Think of it this way. The problem forced the Titan to build a more robust, battle-proof defense system, which connects to the next discovery. That solution is now a permanent asset. So the book must offer structured processes for systematically dissecting challenges, not just solving them, but ensuring maximum long-term strategic power is extracted from every single setback.
So it's not just about minimizing the damage, it's about guaranteeing that the failure generates a net intellectual gain for you.
And finally, we address what I believe is the most challenging psychological hurdle, especially for high achievers who carry these deep professional burdens, turning past troubles into triumphs. This isn't just casual self-forgiveness. It's about redefining your entire personal history.
That is a profoundly difficult psychological shift. Before we even look at the mechanism, let's just acknowledge that for many people listening, that mental burden of past regret or failure, it's the heaviest thing they carry. It fuels procrastination, it kills confidence.
It's a constant anchor. So this technique, it really speaks to identity management. It requires the ability to integrate painful past experiences, not just as lessons learned, which is a passive frame, but as essential, active components of one's current invincible identity. The past failure is reframed as the necessary crucible that forged your current success.
The thing that had to happen.
The thing that had to happen. For a Titan, this means fully owning a massive business failure, but reinterpreting it as the exact moment they learned the resilience or the risk calculation or the market insight they required to build their next, far greater empire. By successfully redefining these troubles as foundational triumphs, the past is completely disarmed.
You take its power away.
It removes the psychological burden of regret, leading directly to that promised deep spiritual freedom, because you are no longer constrained by the shadow of old mistakes. You're perfectly calibrated by them.
That's a powerful internal narrative control. So moving on to the practical execution required to maintain these psychological shifts. Key Discovery C addresses the central enemy of any high-performance environment, which is distraction and inaction. The manifesto promises a breakthrough blueprint to battle-proof yourself against distraction and procrastination. I love that terminology, battle-proof. It suggests creating a fortress of focus, which is essential for monumental productivity.
Let's analyze those terms. Battle-proof. This goes so far beyond simple time blocking or, closing your email tab. It suggests a robust, systematic, almost military-like defense against the relentless internal triggers.
Procrastination, fear of deep work.
Right. And the external assaults, notifications, endless communications, the things that define the high-velocity modern environment.
So what does being battle-proof look like in practice?
Being battle-proof implies that distractions are systematically anticipated and neutralized before they ever become temptations. This means rigorous environment design. Your workspace is a sanctuary. It means mandatory digital hygiene protocols, turning off all non-essential notifications, and perhaps most critically, a structured system for initiating deep work quickly and maintaining it without degradation.
And a breakthrough blueprint suggests this is a series of specific, repeatable, non-obvious steps that result in total defense. It really respects the learner's need for efficiency. If you spend zero energy fighting distraction,
You have 100% left for production.
exactly.
And the outcome of this blueprint is producing magic that dominates your domain. Now note the shift in language there. The goal is not just completion of tasks. It is superior high-level output that others simply cannot replicate. Magic implies an output that appears effortless or miraculous to outsiders.
But it's not magic at all.
Not at all. It is, in reality, the inevitable result of that rigorous, battle-proof system and the adherence to virtuoso-grade performance.
So for the Titan, this blueprint ensures they spend, 90% of their time on the 10% of activities? The strategy, the high-level decision-making, the creative insight that actually generates the wealth and influence.
That's the goal. And for the everyday hero, the blueprint must detail how to identify those few, highest leverage activities and then shield them from the tyranny of the urgent. It's about strategic elimination as much as it is about strategic execution.
This intense focus and discipline then logically lead us straight to Key Discovery D, because you can't sustain monumental productivity and visionary ambitions without the physical and mental infrastructure to support it all.
Key Discovery D examines that exact infrastructure, adopting pioneering insights on adopting world-class routines. The outcomes promised here are exceptionally ambitious and direct, integrating the physical body right into the performance architecture.
All right, let's tackle the first outcome, achieving superhuman fitness. Now, when we talk about leaders and productivity, does this mean you have to be running marathons, or is this more of a metaphor for optimizing cognitive function and endurance?
Given the high-stakes context, this is primarily about optimizing the physical engine to support the cognitive demands. Superhuman fitness refers to a state of extreme vitality and mental clarity that's derived from peak health. It means having the stamina to maintain peak mental focus during a 14 or 16-hour day without cognitive degradation.
Which is something most people can't do for more than a few hours.
Right. It's about leveraging recovery protocols, optimizing your neurochemistry through specific, highly efficient exercise timings, and ensuring you get maximum deep work cycles. The body in this system is not just something you exercise. It is a finely tuned instrument of productivity. Superhuman fitness ensures the body never becomes the limiting factor for the ambition of the mind.
That brings up a practical point. For the Titan, this might involve, proprietary sleep technology, a personal chef, personalized nutritional plans. For you, the listener, what is the scaled down, non negotiable routine that defines this superhuman fitness?
It would absolutely involve mastery of the fundamentals, a non-negotiable commitment to sleep hygiene, getting sufficient, high-quality sleep consistently. That's probably number one,
The foundation.
the foundation. And ensuring some form of movement, or better yet, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, happens early in the day. This is to optimize neurochemical release, specifically dopamine and norepinephrine, which support focus and drive. It's about leveraging physical action for mental sharpness.
And the second outcome of these world-class routines is purely mental, yet it's measurable. Becoming the most disciplined person you know.
This is, to me, perhaps the highest claim of the entire methodology. Discipline is the foundational skill that makes all the other four discoveries even possible. If the methodology can guarantee this level of consistency, it means the routines are designed to fundamentally rewire one's identity and automate their behavior.
So it's not about willpower.
No. Discipline, in this sense, is not a daily struggle with willpower. It becomes the default setting. So the book must contain mechanisms for radical accountability, for habit formation that leverages identity change. For example, I don't try to be productive, I am a virtuoso.
That's a powerful shift.
It is, and it creates an internal motivation strong enough to eliminate that internal argument against taking action. That level of consistency creates predictability and reliability, which are crucial assets in any kind of high-level leadership.
It makes complete sense that physical health and discipline are so intrinsically linked. If you can master the simple daily rituals related to fitness, the things that require consistency and self-respect, that foundational discipline has to spill over into every intellectual and professional pursuit.
And this relentless focus on high-intensity performance, battle-proofing monumental outputs, superhuman fitness, it could sound exhausting. And that's why Key Discovery E must provide the essential counterbalance.
Right. Key Discovery E promises to transition us from that high-intensity discipline to the promised outcome of inner calm. It's about using unusual wisdom to operate with far more simplicity, beauty, and peace.
So we have to ask, why is the wisdom described as unusual? I mean, if this is for billionaires who thrive on complexity, on speed, on aggressive negotiation, simplicity sounds like a dangerous contradiction.
That's the paradox, isn't it? How does a system designed for aggressive domain dominance reconcile that necessary aggression with the mandate for internal peace?
The wisdom is unusual because it is counterintuitive to the high-pressure, always-on culture that they inhabit. It requires the discipline to delete things, not add them. This is the wisdom of essentialism.
Be more about that.
It's recognizing that true mastery means choosing the single most important thing and ruthlessly eliminating everything else. And that includes eliminating good opportunities that might introduce complexity without sufficient leverage.
So it's a discipline of saying no.
1,000 times yes. This wisdom likely involves techniques like mandatory periods of radical reflection or maybe even weekly digital blackouts, forcing a decoupling from that high-velocity change environment. These actions fly in the face of conventional high-performance culture, which preaches constant connectivity and optimization. The unusual wisdom is found in mandatory deceleration.
So simplicity becomes a strategic resource, not just a philosophical luxury. Eliminating cognitive clutter ensures the Titan's limited energy is spent only on the highest leverage tasks.
Exactly. Simplicity, beauty, and peace are the manifestations of the promised deep spiritual freedom. While the instruction manual teaches you how to dominate externally, this handbook component teaches you how to enjoy the journey and maintain your internal equilibrium.
It all connects.
Simplicity eliminates noise, beauty allows for present moment appreciation, and peace is the direct result of eliminating those psychological burdens, like the ones you turned into triumphs back in Discovery B. This allows the everyday hero to operate calmly, even when they're in the middle of high-velocity chaos.
So if we connect this back to the core principles, monumental productivity allows you to acquire the resources and the influence, but spiritual freedom allows you to actually use those resources to experience a life of simplicity, beauty, and peace.
It closes the loop.
It closes the loop, and it validates the entire pursuit of external success with genuine internal fulfillment. Okay, so we have now fully unpacked the 5 core discoveries, from the hidden habits that launch ambition all the way to the unusual wisdom that hankers inner calm. Let's synthesize the system's overall impact. The source material, particularly the language found in the reviews, it confirms that the cumulative effect is not supposed to be incremental. It's categorical. We are talking about gigantic positive turnarounds and raising oneself to limitless heights.
Those phrases, they indicate that this methodology is engineered to correct decades of systemic underperformance or poor habit formation. A gigantic positive turnaround implies the system is potent enough to overcome past limitations.
It goes back to what you said about past troubles.
It successfully leverages that ability to turn past troubles into triumphs. It really offers a total reinitialization of one's personal operating system, like hitting the factory reset button, but with a much better OS.
And the core mechanism enabling this profound transformation, according to the reviewers, is the simple execution. The book is written in a simple yet powerful manner. It skillfully avoids the overly abstract complication you find in so many dense self-help texts, and it makes the advice very relatable.
That simplicity is absolutely crucial for the learner listening right now. We are already swimming in complex information in our professional lives. If the methodology for personal change is itself overly complicated,
It just adds cognitive burden and resistance. It ensures that the system is never implemented because it feels too difficult to even start.
Exactly. By presenting the content in a powerful yet simple way, the book achieves high internal adherence. The brilliance of the methodology, if we take the sources at face value, lies in making virtuoso-grade performance feel accessible and executable through clear, relatable steps. This ease of access, this radical clarity, is the key to achieving the self-realization that the reviewers noted. It's the elimination of analysis paralysis.
And self-realization is the ultimate aim, right? It's the realization of one's full actualized potential, the everyday hero status. But we have to reiterate the critical condition that was noted in the reviews. The success comes only when the system is self-implemented. This is not a magic pill. It's a rigorous training regimen.
That's the non-negotiable prerequisite. The blueprint, the habits, the techniques, they're all just inert tools until you, the listener, apply them consistently. The system requires active daily participation to trigger that deep transformation. You have to move from just absorbing the knowledge to actively living the manifesto.
And that consistent application is where the commitment to becoming the most disciplined person you know is really tested and proven.
It is.
It truly frames the book as an operating system upgrade for your life, one that requires installation, daily maintenance, and most importantly, unflinching commitment. #outro.
So let's bring this all together. Our deep dive into the Everyday Hero Manifesto has confirmed that the source material describes a structured, proven methodology. It's been stress-tested for 25 years on the world's most demanding clients, and it's designed to deliver systematic mastery.
Undefeatable positivity and monumental productivity.
Right.
And we established that the structure itself is a dynamic hybrid. It combines that personal memoir for relatability, an instruction manual for achieving virtuoso-grade performance, and a handbook for the philosophical principles you need to find that anchor of peace amidst the turbulence of high-velocity change.
And we identified the 5 core interlocking tool sets. There are the hidden habits that build visionary ambition through sheer consistency, the specific techniques for converting all adversity into leveraged advantage.
Fear into fuel, problems into power, troubles into triumphs.
Exactly. Then the battle-proof blueprint for defending against distraction, the world-class routines for achieving that superhuman fitness and radical discipline, and finally, the unusual wisdom that mandates simplicity and peace as the strategic antidote to all the complexity out there.
So you now have the full scope and the mechanism of this transformational system. Our mission was to provide you with the necessary intellectual scaffolding to understand this blueprint completely, saving you immense time while still delivering that critical, thorough understanding.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away. The system makes an uncompromising, absolute promise that by adopting this revolutionary methodology, you can become the most disciplined person you know. This isn't about incremental self-control. It's about reshaping your entire identity through routine. So, based on the non-negotiable requirements for achieving both superhuman fitness and monumental productivity, what is the single daily commitment, the foundational micro-routine that you currently fail to execute consistently, that you believe must change first, starting right now, to begin that deep transformation toward becoming the most disciplined person you know?
Think about that single foundational change, because that is the commitment that separates the ambitious learner from the everyday hero. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.